My name is Piper Freeze, and I serve as a delegate to the South Central Jurisdiction, an equalization delegate to the Oklahoma Annual Conference, a member of the Board of Laity, and a member of my local church council. I have been a voting member of the Oklahoma Annual Conference for approximately 8 years. Did you know that the average congregation pays more than 10% of their income to their annual conference, and that number is rising as more churches disaffiliate? Some of that money goes to great causes like Restore Hope, Project Transformation, and Circle of Care. But some of it also goes to things like Oklahoma City University, which hosted a worship service to the queer God last year. It concerns me that the conference takes money from less affluent areas to start and maintain churches in much wealthier urban areas in Tulsa and Oklahoma City with a new and revitalized Faith Communities Fund. I have a hard time seeing how that is right. I want more of my tithes to go to local missions and ministries. Should rural churches really be subsidizing city churches? Also, when you look at your apportionments for your local church, have you noticed that the largest item is the World Service Fund? That's the one that goes to pay the salaries of many activists in the General Board of Church and Society, the Connectional Table, and more than a dozen multi-million-dollar organizations under the UMC umbrella. I strongly encourage you to research each individual apportionment and what exactly it funds, specifically the General Board of Church and Society. These activists often mock or work against the values of people like me. When they and the bishops advocate against guns, the oil industry, and for abortion, that says to me that they do not care to represent me and my way of life. Why should I be sending them money? Another line item in apportionments is the Episcopal Fund and Housing. This pays $175,000 of annual salary and housing cost of not just this conference's bishop, but also the 2 bishops in the Western jurisdiction who are actively involved in same-sex relations. While the Judicial Council has ruled that they are not even eligible to be bishops, the rebellious Western jurisdiction has appointed them anyway, and is using apportionments to keep them comfortable as they undermine the Book of Discipline. It also funds the salary of people like the new Bishop Kennetha Bingham Say, who says that it really doesn't matter what people believe about Jesus, or Bishop Sue Halpert Johnson, who has flagrantly disobeyed the Book of Discipline and trapped all the churches in North Georgia Annual Conference. Why should our apportionment dollars pay for their benefits, housing, and salaries? There are more examples of financial issues than I have time for here. But I think I'll just leave you with this. I had to do a lot of reading to learn this stuff. Denominational boards and agencies don't make it easy to discover what they do. They do not transparently report their actions or finances. I had to read about the financial improprieties from caucus groups in the denomination, rather than from the agencies themselves. And when it comes to the Oklahoma Conference, though they submit their annual audit for review, they do not report any sort of fund balances or reserves to the voting members. They don't even show these things to the conference's Council on Finance and Administration. Very few people have access to these reports. We asked for them, and they said no. Many other people have also been told they could not see these reports. Again, these reports should be commonplace when the CFNA does their reporting to the annual conference each year. In short, friends, I'm concerned about how the denomination handles its money. I realize that no organization is going to use money in ways that every single member likes. I believe many more questions should be asked of our leaders. Money shouldn't be used this way. They shouldn't ask so much. And shouldn't we have more transparency? Until the discovery of these very concerning issues, with the use of apportionment dollars to fund general boards not specifically formed for making disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world, I was a proud United Methodist, supporting the mission of Jesus Christ through my gifts for years. In that time, I have trusted my church and the United Methodist denomination to spend that money in ways that glorify God and that honor my church's value and the heritage of those generations who built this church. If I were to suggest one thing to everyone watching this video, please do your own research on these issues. There are many articles from reliable people who have worked diligently for years to make the UMC an amazing and fierce church. Unfortunately, as 1 Timothy 6:10 says, "For the love of money is a root of all sorts of evil, and some, by longing for it, have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs." It certainly feels that once the truth about the UMC apportionments was discovered and the Oklahoma Annual Conference would not present transparent financial records in October, the true intentions of the UMC in terms of money have been revealed and strongly questioned. We need to be a people who start holding each other accountable. At the end of the day, aren't we all servants in Christ Church?